Access Savings and Union Homes have lost their licenses to the CBN due to regulatory breaches. Did you hear? Don't say I told you. You didn't hear from me. But that is the reality. Of course, you know, Nigeria has a housing deficit that is over 17 to 20 million. You know, over 17 to 20 million houses to bridge the housing gap in Nigeria. What does this losing of license mean to you? My question is, when would it be your turn as a working Nigerian to own your own house? That's why we have many people, many retirees who will start building homes when they have actually gone out of work. Tell me how that works. That is why our retirees die before time. Now we're losing 2 licenses or 2 mortgage banks. Nigeria has over 40 mortgage banks, and that will be serving over 80 million working population in Nigeria. In Lagos alone, we have a need for about 3 to 4 million houses to cover up for the deficit that we have. That's why you will see in one house, over 50 people are coming out from one room. You can imagine these kind of issues. Now, what causes the failure of mortgage banks? Of course, the CBN withdrawing the licenses of these 2 mortgage banks is an indication that we have a weak mortgage system, and CBN is trying to strengthen it. CBN, kudos to you. But then, how does this affect the common man? How does it affect the everyday Nigerian? Our population grows at the rate of 2.5% per annum. And we have a low housing production. How many houses have been built in Nigeria? In your city, in your locality, how many houses are coming? And that's why houses are quite high. Like, for instance, you're in Abuja, the number one thing to consider, the number one concern that you should have is your housing. So because we have lower housing production, and the few that are in production or that have been built are quite exorbitant because it is not enough for everyone. So little resources are chasing, you know, few houses, so it makes it quite high. Now we have weak mortgage system, and of course, one of the other problems we have is that we are using short fund to fund long-term assets. Some people use the mortgage bank as though it is a commercial bank. Deposits are not allowed to stay for too long, but housing is a long-term project that is supposed to be funded with long-term assets. So this is one of the problems, and there are people who are not covered under the National Housing Scheme. Those who are informal, those who are working, the traders, the plumbers, the cobblers, all those ones are not covered in the housing scheme. And they do not have any contribution, even in their retirement. Of course, National Pension Commission has been working with the CBN to make sure that people's retirement savings can be used as a mortgage, as a collateral for them to access their houses, making sure that retirement is comfortable without pressure. But how many Nigerians are also covered under the personal pension plan? And do they even know how it works? There's not enough enlightenment. So we have people who are not covered in the scheme. That is one of the challenges of the mortgage system in Nigeria. We have high interest rates. This has discouraged many people from going to mortgage banks to borrow to build their houses. Even those who are working for the nation and sweating cannot afford to pay the interest rates of the mortgage banks. We have short-term tenors. The tenors are too short that even when you're giving, of course, you know automatically you have got trouble and that you're going to be under pressure to pay back. These are issues that we'll also want CBN to look at before they will now say that the system has been strengthened. So we need to look at all of these things. Now, there is housing insecurity. That the average Nigerian worker is not so sure that when he retires, he has a home where he can take his family to. And that is why people do not want to retire from the system, because there is no assurance, there is an insecurity of housing. And one of the greatest things that every worker, everyone desires is that when he is old, he has somewhere that he can stay without the pressure of paying rent or having the landlord coming for his jugular at any time. Anyway, in our next video, we should be looking at the personal pension plan and how it can help you to assess your own housing. For those who are traders, those who are not in the formal employment, those who are not working for anybody and earning salary, there is a hope for you. If you will click and join in our next discussion, just like, share, and comment in this video. So we'll see how we can come out of the woods. But definitely, Nigeria has a housing deficit that requires attention, and our primary and our personal contributions or actions. Everybody has a role to play. Everybody has a responsibility in this. But there should be housing for all. By the way, Do you think that we need more mortgage banks, or we are okay with the few that we have just to strengthen them? Let's hear your contribution and hear your comment at this section. Thank you.